Hey everybody, welcome to Teal Tinted Glasses episode 25. Sorry for the late start. Me and Jerk were kind of sitting chatting and basically being like, wow, we don't have a lot to talk about tonight. And then we proceeded to like have a conversation that wasn't on air that dragged into showtime. So I apologize for that. Not a ton going on, obviously. There's only one Sharks game since we recorded last, which was Sunday. There was no Barracuda games. And the AHL's been pretty quiet. I mean, obviously the trade happened Sunday and we already covered that. We do have an update on the Vadim Shipashov drama that we can give you. It's actually, I guess, would be a conclusion at this point. But aside from that, I mean, it's just, it is what it is. So we'll be watching the chat close tonight, I'm sure. With me, as always, is Mr. Hockey Jerk. How you doing, good sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic, as other than the snow. It's snowing and I don't like it.
Well, it rained here in the Bay Area today, so naturally everybody had a meltdown.
Oh, well, yeah, it's the same here, except for snow instead. And I think snow's more worthy of a meltdown. But I've lived in California, especially in places where it doesn't rain. And yeah, I mean, no one knows how to deal with rain.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. I mean, you get that precipitation, on the sidewalk on your windows, and all of a sudden years of doing the same thing over and over again, all of a sudden just out the window. People don't know how to drive. People don't know how to do anything.
Well, that's the funny thing here is like, we have snow probably more than we don't have snow, and people just the first snowfall and just accidents like crazy. And it's just like, come on, people, like you've lived here your whole life. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, right.
All right. Yeah, so I hate snow. Go start a GoFundMe and move. I like being where I am. I like being where I am. Come on now. All right. Hockey Jerk, I have bad news.
Let's hear it.
We suck again.
All right, Yannick Hansen to the Panthers. Joel Ward is gonna.
I was actually like, I'm not nothing. Okay, nothing in this fan base surprises me at this point. Let's be honest here.
Sure.
Because I've been doing this a while now. Like, it's kind of been silly how long I've been doing this, and so nothing really surprises me anymore. But I was still kind of surprised, though. It caught me a little off guard, like some of the reactions to the game last night. Look, last night's game wasn't pretty, and I get that, but like, I don't know. I feel like you're playing the best team in the league, like easily the best team in the league. I don't think it's even close at this point with Tampa,
No,
like the next closest team.
Yeah, Tampa, I mean, statistically, obviously are the best team in the league, but even like player personnel, they're just loaded.
Right. Like, I think we both picked them to win the Atlantic, did we not?
I picked them to, I mean, probably not on our actual show, but, within the last couple weeks, I have them winning the Stanley Cup. And that's not a, what have you done for me lately thing. That's I thought they should have won the Stanley Cup last year,
Mm-hmm.
So, and Sleepy Mofo says it's a win-win for me last night. Very true. Sleepy Mofo reads my tweets. He knows that I'm a closeted Lightning fan. So
That's true. You are like a closet everything fan.
Well, okay. So the Lightning, I would say like if there's no Sharks and I have to like the East, it's the Lightning. If I like to, ruffle people's feathers and poke fun, then it's the Penguins, obviously. If I want like a feel good, story, it's obviously the Coyotes. And then I would say Ducks too are in the same school of thought as the Penguins, where it's like if I want to be a jerk, I'm just like, hey, yeah, those Ducks are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was disappointed with the loss. Like, I was really quiet on Twitter last night because I fell asleep. So I basically tried to watch the game. Basically, I watched it from the start, and I didn't want to, basically have it ruined by Twitter, and which is a good thing, because I think if I would have like saw the tweets, then I would have turned the game off at some point. But like, it was frustrating, but I think it wasn't really like, I think that this kind of game was a good wake up call for the Sharks, who had kind of been cruising along lately. But I think that, it's going to show them that they're not they're not even close to being the top dogs in the league anymore. And they just, they can't take any team for granted at this point. And I thought that the way that the Lightning kind of played them yesterday, I think it's a good wake up call for them. And I hope that, they look at their game, reevaluate things and come back better. But I thought that, I understand, look, it's never fun watching your team lose, but I didn't think it was worthy of a lot of the reaction it got last night.
Well, right. And, the Sharks before last night were on a streak of 4 wins in a row. And,
Mm-hmm.
When you consider the teams that they beat, Anaheim, Nashville, teams of that caliber, it starts to, give good feelings like, okay, maybe we are still in the same conversation as these teams that are better than us. And
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately, the Sharks got a little sure of themselves and kind of let the Tampa Bay Lightning play their game, which is obviously very fast, very, very explosive offense.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a tweet that basically said that the Sharks last night looked how they looked in the beginning of the season, which was rated very just kind of all over the place, not in sync. And I totally agree. But beyond, the first 10 minutes of the first period, it was a lot of just, a lot of panic and a lot of just, we're going to go through the motions and we're just going to try and get out of this game no matter what.
Yeah. No, and I think that's fair. I think, Jones didn't have a great game. I thought like there's a couple of goals that I thought were pretty suspect from him before he was pulled for Aaron Dell. It wasn't a good game. I'm not saying like, everyone should just be happy that they lost. They don't be happy. I was just like, I went on Twitter. It's like, oh my God, we got to trade everyone. Like they're 7-3-0 in like their last 10 games. Like it's a bad loss, but it's not the end of the world. Like I'm not worried. Like I'm not looking at that loss last night and I'm not worried suddenly. Like we've seen the Sharks play some good hockey of late. So I'm, Couture called out the power play, which obviously I think everyone's been calling out at this point.
Yeah, right. And like you said, at the end of the season, when all the playoff teams are finalized, are we going to be saying, oh, well, remember that one game against Tampa Bay in November? That could have put us in second as opposed to third, like it's not going to be a conversation topic.
No.
And yeah, exactly. It never happens. And, I think Couture is, I think he had every right to call up the power play because I believe it was 0 for 2 last night, which, we've seen worse, but
we have.
Say the Sharks go 2 for 2 on the power play, then all of a sudden maybe it's a closer game, and power play unit that's lauded as being one of the best in the league. I would say it's been barely average.
Yeah, I think the numbers would bear that out too without looking. Does that put Steve Spot in the hot seat? I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's so hard to say because at the end of the day, it's eventually this has to go, you have to put the guy who's running the entire team's head on the block. And I don't know you could fire some assistants. It could happen, but, and again, I'm not saying we're even at this point now, just based on one loss. Like, I think it's a little silly to start calling for Peter DeBoer's head after one game. But I think that I'm starting to think that, the only way that Steve Spot's going to go anywhere is if Peter DeBoer is following him out.
Yeah, exactly. You can fire and hire as many assistants as you want. We saw, how many assistant coaches did Todd McClellan have in his tenure here, and it was still the same result, more or less. You can fire assistant coaches all you want, but at the end of the day, it's the head coach who is driving the bus.
Yeah, and Vince just brought up a thing, and I almost forgot about it. I don't know how I didn't make the notes. Was when the Sharks gave gave the Lightning a power play.
You're gonna have to educate me here. I must have missed that part.
They were skating 4-on-5, even though there was no power play for the Lightning.
Oh God.
So there's again bench management goes back to bench management, and I don't think that reflects, like, somebody should have saw that, like a player, but honestly, like the coach like someone on the coaching staff should have picked that up.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
How
it
do you
doesn't.
not know? How do you not tap someone on the back and throw them over the boards? Like, it makes no sense. And it led to a goal.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, how do you not look up from your bench and say, "Oh my God, we're missing a guy here." Like these are such basic things that shouldn't even be talking points. But like you said, it led to a goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's silly. I mean, I'm not too concerned about this. Sorry, go ahead.
Morocco says hilarious when Bodker of all people was screaming at the bench.
It was pretty embarrassing. It was an embarrassing look at it. It was an embarrassing effort last night. I get that. And people are going to be angry, and that's fine. But I mean, all in all, I think people need to take it for what it's worth. It's one game. If they look like that against Vancouver tomorrow, then or whenever it's tomorrow, right? Saturday, whatever. I don't care. Whenever they play Vancouver, if they look like garbage against Vancouver, then I think you have, then maybe it's time to get a little bit concerned. But
I'm not so sure because Vancouver is ahead of San Jose in the standings.
Yeah, but again, like, yes, they are ahead in the standings, but
Vancouver, I'm probably going to regret this because I generally regret most of the things I say, but Vancouver Vancouver is playing pretty well with minimal output from the Sedins and no Troy Stetcher.
But I feel like Vancouver is a team that, like, they're not, at least on paper, I don't think they're that much better than the Sharks. Right? Like, it's like you look at Tampa Bay, for example, right? And you can just look at that roster and you go, okay, Stamkos, Kucherov, Hedman, like you go down the list and it's like it's a scary team. Whereas like Vancouver, I mean, yeah, like Ao saying, Besser's damn good. He is damn good. We all really like Besser, but
me especially.
Yes.
And a guy who I don't think gets as much credit as he deserves, and a guy who I've enjoyed watching for a good little while now is Sven Baertschi. I mean, how great was him going to Vancouver? I mean, for as long as he was in where did he play? In Calgary,
right?
He had all of these expectations and didn't really meet those expectations, and he was kind of just okay. And then he comes to Vancouver, and he absolutely obliterates his career high in goals. The first 2 full seasons he's in Vancouver,
right?
And now this year he's playing on the top line with Besser and Horvat, and
and everyone knows I love Horvat.
Well, and I think that's been one of the best lines in the league this year. I mean, Besser's got I believe 14 points in 12 games. Baertschi's got 11 and 15. So they're clicking. And for as much as talked about how Vancouver is bad and they have no future, I think that's a damn good first line, no?
Yeah, I worry about the depth more than anything else.
Oh, sure. And I mean,
they've got some good players. Like obviously drafting where they have the last 2 years, you're gonna have some good players. I'm just curious how they fill that out.
Sure. And I mean, the 4 points in 14 games for Henrik Sedin is obviously not going to help things.
No, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that they should look past Vancouver. I just like Vancouver doesn't scare me as much as, it's Tampa Bay on the schedule. Well, that's probably not going to be fun. Like I don't get that same vibe with Vancouver. You know what I mean? Like it's same like with Nashville. I think Nashville's a good team, but they didn't, they're not so scary that I was like, oh, well, that's a loss.
Well, maybe not a week ago, but with Kyle Turris, that kind of changes things.
Yeah, no, definitely. Kyle Turris definitely helps that situation for sure. I mean, I still love their defense and everything else. I don't know. I just like there's just some teams where it's like I'm scared of, and like Vancouver, I'm not scared of Vancouver. I mean, they're doing good. I mean, and who knows? Maybe they'll, be a thing. I feel like once the season's like well into the season, we're not talking about Vancouver.
Well, and lest we forget, And lest we forget, this is the same Vancouver Canucks team who was in a playoff spot with like 12,000 overtime losses.
That's true.
Uh,
Ken
Mike
Kucherov had 50
Neves,
goals in 50 games. Man, 50. I haven't. When's the last time someone's done that? 90s? Brett Hull?
uh, yeah, probably. But I mean, here's my thought on the matter, and I'm curious to know what you think. Um, so much is said about small sample size and that sort of thing.
Right.
Kucherov with 15 point or goals in 16 games. At what point is it not small sample size and it's wow, he's scoring like a madman?
Yeah, I mean, 50 and 50. I mean, 50 and 50 is hard. I don't think 50 and 50 is doable. Like, I'd be shocked, but I mean, I would definitely, like, if you want to like sprinkle a little money in Vegas and probably, probably lose a little bit of money, but have potential of making tons of money, then that's a bet I would place, because who knows? But
Yeah,
yeah,
could you?
I can't see it. Like, I would be awesome to see again, because I mean, scoring is up this year.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's anything's possible, but it's also highly unlikely. I think I still don't think the game's opened up that much where Kucherov, as good as he is going to go 50 and 50. Can he get 50 goals this season? Absolutely, but I mean, the last time we saw someone go 50 and 50 was
A long time ago.
a
Back
long
when
time ago.
back when goalies sucked.
Right, basically, right. I mean, it's just the game is so, I mean, people look what happened to Brent Burns. I mean, he was scoring a ton of goals off the top of the year last year, and by the end of it, he was having trouble. Why? Because people watch tape,
Hmm.
people coach, like, and eventually people are gonna figure out how to limit Kucherov's offensive chances, and then he's gonna have to try and adapt to that. But there's only so much you can, there's only so much you can do.
Well, and these teams, they better figure it out soon because Kucherov has been scoring goals the same way for like 4 years now. So,
Oh,
they're taking their sweet time to figure it out for sure.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think he's great, but yeah, Brett Hull, I believe, was the last player to do it. Does Kucherov win the Hart? I don't know about the Hart, because Russians don't have hearts, silly.
If anything, it's Steven Stamkos.
Could he walk? Could he be your points leader at the end of the year? I mean,
Yeah.
he's got to be your odds-on favorite for the Richard.
Yeah, I mean, right now, yeah, but even Alex Ovechkin's not that far behind him,
Nope.
and we've seen Ovechkin, come alive on the, on the snap of a finger. He
Well,
I
I mean,
remember
at the
one
beginning
of
of the
the
year, Ovechkin had more goals than some teams did.
well, right, and to kind of give you an idea, the year, I think it was the year the Capitals played in the Winter Classic, he from the beginning of the season to the Winter Classic in January, I think he had like 18 goals, and then
Right.
from January to the end of the regular season, he scored like 34, like some stupid number. So
Yeah.
Ovechkin, as down was his year of 37 goals last year, because 37 is just not a lot at all.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The Sharks would kill for 37 goals.
No doubt.
But I think Ovechkin has that thing about him where he can just come out of nowhere and all of a sudden he's going to be running away with it, as we saw his start to the year, back-to-back Hatties in the first two games.
Right. Yeah. No, fair enough. I mean, I really don't like being like, oh, yeah. I mean, other than the Calder, I think like Calder is fun, but like Hart and everything else, I mean, it's November. Like,
Well,
there's
and
way too much hockey left. Even like, yeah, I guess so. Does he look good? Yeah, he looks great. Is that going to last all year?
I think too, the trophies that are given out for points are kind of hard to gauge, but like ones like the Hart or maybe even the Vesna or the Calder, those ones are a little easier to
Yeah.
say one way or the other.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Um, Well, you know what? I have some more bad news.
Oh no, what happened?
Alain Vigneault did not get fired. In fact, the Rangers are on like a 5-game winning streak now. What
Go
is
plan the
this?
parade?
Yeah, I don't know. What is this show if we can't get coaches fired? Like, I don't even know why we're doing this anymore.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed. If I'm a Rangers fan, I'm upset because that team is not built for longevity, and if they keep, teasing everybody with this little streak they're on, then they're not going to have a good time.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Alain Vigneault's, like I said, we've said before. I mean, Alain Vigneault's a great coach. He's definitely a good coach. He's one of the best coaches in the league. It just sometimes I think the message gets worn. I think he's still on borrowed time. Like, it's not going to take. I mean, unless the Rangers go on, just a super silly, like you said, plan the parade. I don't know. I feel like in a month we could be talking about this again.
Yeah, that's very possible. When, like I said, the Rangers are not really built for longevity. And
right.
For as good as they were, 2014, 2015, they have really shipped off major pieces of their team in the last couple of years. I mean, I've, said it many times before that the last 4 years, Derek Brassard was their best player, and he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Stepan is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Nash is just bad, and he should feel bad. And and they clearly were in, retool, rebuild, reset, whatever you want to call it, mode this past summer. I mean, you don't trade, a top 6 center in his mid to late 20s for a top 10 pick and a potential top 4 defenseman, as a Stanley Cup contender. You do that when you're trying to reset things. And the Rangers do have good pieces, but I think ultimately, if they miss the playoffs, I don't think people should be surprised or upset because they did it to themselves.
I completely agree there. And I think, we were talking off air about how the Metro division and just like how, it's pretty tight, that Metro division. You look at all the teams. I mean, we looked at the bottom of the conference, and I think of the bottom 6 teams, I think only one of them was from the Metro, which is Carolina, and all the other was from the Atlantic. And there's so little point spread between the top and, the bottom rung of that division. So I mean, it's the Rangers, they're on a hot streak now, man, but it doesn't take much to slide out of contention for sure. Because one slip and there's other teams there that are just going to quickly overtake you.
Well, and exactly, and that's like the Pacific Division last year, where the Kings and the Flames duked it out for all of last year, and ultimately the Flames won, and even the Sharks being top of the division for 2 months, and then they end up falling to 3rd place. So, especially when the divisions are tight, the Pacific and the Metro are obviously really tight divisions, and if you take a game off, all of a sudden you're going to have guys in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, Alain Vigneault didn't get fired. So I don't know why you guys are watching anymore. We should probably go over this Shipachyov thing quickly, since we've kind of covered this from the get-go. We give Vegas probably more time than we give the Sharks on this show. It's probably bad.
Well, that's okay.
We should feel bad. So basically, Shipachyov is going to do a Kovalchuk-esque retirement. This will have Vegas retain his rights for the next 5 years. So if he wants to return, much like Kovalchuk did, he would have to have Vegas either sign him or trade his rights to another team. So good luck coming back to I don't think he's ever going to come back to the NHL, but he's not. Basically, there's rumors that they had a trade in place, but he was just content at this point just to go back to Russia, which I think makes me curious because I feel like obviously that reflects badly on him, and there's been a lot of negativity thrown towards Shipachyov because you have guys like George McPhee who comes out and says, and I quote, "He was the worst center on the team. He just simply wasn't good enough.
Yes, but let's forget to mention all 12 borderline AHL defensemen that they held on to.
Right. And I'm gonna, I'm gonna bring up Cap Friendly here and let's go over their centers because
and this is what bothers me about Shipachev too, is you look at his stats in the KHL, and yes, the KHL is the number 2 league and it's more offensively driven, but he still tore things apart in that league. He was still an all-star. He's still a 2-time Gargrin Cup champion. You don't walk away from that and screw around with that after how many games did he play with Vegas? 4?
3.
Like
31 minutes of ice. He decided that he wasted $9 million in 31 minutes of ice time.
Yeah, like that's just
like
that's
George
just
McPhee's a Sharks fan.
Yeah,
George McPhee's a Sharks fan because he's like, yeah, that Timo Meier guy, he's got to go. I you know what? I saw a game. I didn't really like what I saw. He's done. He's a bust. Get rid of him.
Yeah. Well, and that's what kind of irks me too, is because McPhee picks up all these defensemen thinking that he's going to be able to trade them for picks, and that doesn't work out. So now it's like, oh yeah, this guy, he doesn't have to go through waivers to go to the AHL, and it's like, oh well, isn't he one of your best offensive players? And it's like, oh yeah, but doesn't have to go through waivers.
Through waivers, right? And now they're like basically denying that that's even a thing. Like, I'm sorry, I'm a big Jonathan Marchessault guy, but Shipachov's better than Marchessault. Is he better than William Karlsson? You damn better believe he is. Is he better than Pierre-Edouard Bellemare? Yes. Is he better than Oscar Lindbergh? Yes. Like, there's just like the fact that he was the worst center on the team. Like, that is just silly. And it just, we know it's spin. We know it's spin. We don't have to, I shouldn't have to explain that this is just damage control spin. But I mean, objectively, you're now saying that a guy that you gave $9 million to is not good. How did you sign him for $9 million then?
Yeah, exactly.
And what is your scouting staff doing if you thought that he was worth $9 million? Like, it's completely ridiculous, and I get it. You have to do damage control because obviously you don't want to come out and just say, yeah, we screwed up. Like, no one wants, you can't come out and do that. Like, never happened. But I just, there's a part of me that just wishes, I would give him credit for honesty. If he just said, yeah, we screwed up. We had too many defensemen and we couldn't get Shipachyov in because we were carrying too many defensemen because I'm an idiot. But no one's ever going to do that, right? Like, you're never going to get that honest truth. You just, unfortunately, you're going to get the spin that's going to reflect well on the team. It's just like, Doug Wilson and Todd McClellan are still the best of friends, and they just decided that they needed to go separate ways. Right.
Yeah, sure. It was mutual, but yeah, not really. And we talk about small sample size. I mean, like you said, 31 minutes of ice time. 31 minutes of ice time, and you decide that a guy is literally the worst player in franchise history, no less. And it's like, if you put, I mean, you throw a KHL All-Star into the AHL, of course you're going to piss him off. His first game with Vegas, where he was on a line with Alex Tuck, that was awesome to watch. Because
I know.
I love Alex Tuck. I love Vadim Shipachev, and he should have got better because 31 minutes and you decide he's the worst player ever. That's just, like you said, it's just a BS excuse.
It's garbage, and I feel sorry for anyone who honestly buys it. And there are people that buy it. Obviously, there's people that buy it because he's Russian, rah rah rah. And but I'm mad at this because look, it's the NHL. You want to see the best. You want to see the best players play, right? It's the NHL. I'm mad that Kovalchuk is in the NHL because Kovalchuk's one of the best players in the world.
Right.
And you had that opportunity to see this guy play in the NHL, and now he's going back to the KHL, probably never to be seen again until the next, I guess we can watch him in the Olympics when Russia completely face rolls everybody.
Well, I don't know. I mean, have you heard about the KHL potentially not going to the Olympics?
No, I did not hear this. Tell me more.
I'm not privy to all of the particulars, but I did read something that the KHL is considering not allowing their players to go, even if you are on a KHL team and not a Russian-born player.
Why would they do that? Like, they're gonna face roll it. Like, it's Russia.
Yeah,
like I don't understand, because Russia, like, let's be honest here. Hasn't exactly been a country to shy away, especially like this is Putin's Russia, man. Like I can't see that. They have such an opportunity to go in. Now, don't get me wrong, if they didn't win, it would be embarrassing as hell for them.
Yeah.
Like, because they should be the odds-on favorite plus. So I mean, yes, if they got upset, that would be bad for Russia.
Yeah, apparently it's due to it's in protest of doping investigation into Russian athletes.
Oh, see, no one cares about Korea.
Yeah, right. Like it's all about China.
My goodness. Yeah, I mean, okay, so the doping thing, yeah, I can see that. I can't see it. When it's all said and done, I can't see it, because Russia's been dying for like a big win, and even though the best players aren't there, you know, Russia's we know that Russia's a propaganda machine, so you know their league's the best league in the world anyway. So,
well,
so the best players don't go.
Remember how much of a hellstorm it was when they lost in Sochi?
Oh yeah.
This is your chance, like, don't prevent your best players from going because of some, yes, doping investigations. It's obviously a big deal, but I mean,
For sure.
if it doesn't affect you directly, then put on the blinders, just focus on your part of the show. And like you said, if Russia doesn't just roll people in the Winter Olympics, and at least in hockey,
right?
I mean, what more can you do? I mean, you look at all the tournaments that are going around. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. I wish Kevin was here. The Karjala Cup. I don't know how to pronounce, but that roster is like stupid good. And they have a bunch of players from St. Petersburg. They have a couple players from Magnitogorsk, from Red Star and Jokerit, and it's like, the KHL can really do some damage this year if they can put out a good team and not mess around.
Yes, Mike. You know what? I agree. North Korea hockey, best Korea, by the way, hardest working team ever.
So would it be in poor taste if I said that any shot from the point by a North Korean player was a bomb of a shot?
Ooh. Yeah, I don't care. I believe that even if something's in poor taste, if it's funny, we should laugh.
That's fair.
What else we got here? I mean, there's so much going on. It's so busy. Barracuda this weekend have a couple of games at SAP Center. They are going to be hosting the Manitoba Moose, the Manitoba Moose in back-to-back games. Should be interesting. I haven't really looked at the Jets/Moose roster. I'm not sure who's going to be down and who's going to be up. It feels like, I feel like Kyle Connor's on the Jets right now. Am I wrong?
No, I believe you're right, and that's what I was going to mention too. The big talking point when the Moose came through last year was Kyle Connor, and he's with the big club now. So, I'm trying to pull up their roster right now, and it looks like I'm trying to see, like, oh, Buddy Robinson comes home.
Oh, Buddy Robinson comes home. That's right. I completely forgot about Buddy Robinson being on the Moose here.
Buddy Robinson, who is third on the team in points with 11 in 13 games played.
There we go.
I hope they Barracuda play him a video.
Oh, Sleepy. Oh, going back to our Korea thing. No hockey jerk. Heard their bombs don't make it to their target.
Vince G says True North in all caps. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, look at the Moose. It should be. I think it should be a good game, though. I think it should be. It should still be. The Moose generally play a good game. I think it'll be a good challenge for the Barracuda. Probably. I'm assuming Comrie's probably going to be starting. So that's,
Yeah, most
that's a
likely.
goalie worth taking a look at if you are into that sort of thing. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. Yeah, back-to-back games. I don't know if there's any cool, fun stuff going on as far as like giveaways or anything, but you should go.
Well, I know the Barracuda have like 18,000 bobbleheads they're giving away this year. I just don't know when they're giving
Right. I
them
don't know if
away.
it's this weekend or not. I'm going to get better on this kind of stuff. But yeah,
Mike Neves wants to know what our thoughts on the Sharks showcasing Joachim Ryan as a trade piece.
no.
No. I mean, you in my estimate, you have players like Brendan Dillon and Justin Braun who, yes, are a little older, but they're more established, would go a long way to helping the Sharks hypothetically get a scoring piece, whether it's, the real deal James Neal, whether it's Evander Kane, something like that. And, if it is a Dillon or a Braun over Joachim Ryan, you definitely have to throw in more, considering Joachim Ryan is obviously a younger talent. But I think a team, especially like Buffalo,
Yeah.
Buffalo wants an established, as bad as Buffalo is this year, they would want an established defenseman. Buffalo's running out of real estate to be taking on more project defensemen, as good as Joachim Ryan has been so far.
Yeah, I don't know how you take a look at, like, I don't know how the Sharks would look at Joachim Ryan and say that's the guy that needs to, like, that's the guy. Like, yeah, I think Joachim Ryan could fetch you a decent return. It's possible, but I don't know why the Sharks like would look at Joachim Ryan and be like, yeah, that's the guy that we can, that's the expendable guy in this group. Like, Joachim Ryan's the guy you hold on to. Joachim Ryan could be your next, top pair defenseman for good at some point. And
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think that I don't see why you would part with that for anything. Like, there's so many players. I would part with Tim Heed before I parted with Joachim Ryan, and I love Tim Heed, but like Joachim Ryan is my, obviously aside from Vlasic and Burns, the Joachim Ryan's my untouchable. Like, you just can't have him.
Yeah, exactly. And the Sharks are fortunate to be in a position that they were in 2013, and then they were in 2015 as well, where yes, they're technically sellers and they're trading off some pieces, but they still have as good or better pieces that they can play and still have some semblance of a playoff run. I mean, never forget Douglas Murray for 2 seconds, which was addition by subtraction, and the Sharks almost went to the Western Conference Final that year. So I think the Sharks are in a good spot, and you could, again, hypothetically, you could see DeMello, Hansen, and Ward all off the team by February, and I still think the Sharks would be in a good spot to push for one of the 3 divisional playoff spots.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think, and here's the other thing too, like, Paul Martin is getting up there now. I don't think Paul Martin's in any jeopardy with the coaching staff, but if I'm Doug Wilson and I'm looking at my cap situation, and I see all this cap space, because there's still going to be a decent amount of cap space next year unless the Sharks pull something big, and I'm not sold that's happening. I would happily buy out the last year of Paul Martin's contract and leave Joachim Ryan on the team.
Really?
Without hesitation. Yeah, because I feel like, look at your left side. You got Vlasic, he's not going anywhere. You got Dillon likely not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Who does that leave? At least, if you're going to put Joachim Ryan in, it's got to be at Paul Martin's expense. And conveniently, who is Joachim Ryan playing with right now?
Brent Burns.
Exactly. You're going to play.
Yeah,
you could buy him out. You could buy out the last year of his contract. It's, it's going to be pretty painless. I think it's like 2. It'd be like 2 for the next 2 years. And then, I don't know. I mean, it's something that I could see. I don't know if that would happen because, again, Peter DeBoer likes his vets, but I wouldn't want to waste a guy like Joachim Ryan. Like, I want Joachim Ryan getting all the NHL reps he can get.
Yeah, especially, like I said, he comes in and, you like a player who forces you to make a decision on another guy. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
it was the same thing when Chris Tierney came in and played as well as he did. It's like, okay, well, we don't really need James Shepherd now.
Right.
And Rob Iman says, does Doug Wilson buy out Bodker at the end of the year? No, he does not.
Unlikely.
Because as much as
you'd be paying that buyout for the next 4 years.
That, and as much as said about his lack of goal scoring and his albatross of a contract, his speed is still an asset to the team, especially on the third line with Chris Tierney, who I thought he and Tierney have developed some pretty solid chemistry together.
Yeah, I think they're gonna ride it out. If Bodker is gonna go anywhere, it's gonna be by trade. I don't think it'll be a buyout because again, you're gonna be paying that contract off for the next 4 years. Like that's a long time to be paying off. To be paying again, it adds up, right? Like you can't just buy everyone out; it'll add up.
Right.
Then you'll be the Kings, where it's like you should have cap space, but you don't because you're paying players that don't play for you anymore.
Well, and at the time of this podcast, Mike Richards will be on the LA Kings books for the next 12 seasons.
Right. Yeah. Do you want that? No. So, I don't want that for 4 seasons. Forget 12. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like, as much as Bodker gets angry, then, I don't see it. I don't see Dylan getting shipped out. Like I really, really don't. I know he's the name that gets circled a lot, but I don't see it. Like I could see, to me, it's Paul Martin, it's Dylan DeMello. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's one of those two guys that has to, that gets moved out. I think Joakim Ryan, unfortunately, goes back to the Barracuda when Paul Martin comes back, just because there's nowhere to play him. Because rights, and we know that. And I think Tim Heed has probably taken Dylan DeMello's spot at this point.
Yeah, I would say so. And I mean, really, it's not DeMello, I guess. It's just a matter of Tim Heed was the better player, and
he just keeps things more at the table.
Yeah, exactly. And it's unfortunate for how many years, Dylan DeMello was patient. And, he suffered through Roman Polak and he suffered through David Schlemko and he finally gets his chance. And then here comes Tim Heed, Yeah. And Vince G brings up a really good point about Bodker saying that Arizona broke him. They did, because when Bodker was on the Coyotes, it was like play and don't really focus on any.
Don't do any system stuff. Just go shoot the puck. Just go have fun. Just go in the pond, have some fun.
Pretend like you're still in. Cute.
Like, oh my goodness. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I did have a question. And the question came on Twitter from my friend Aaron, and he asked, could we ever see the Sharks moving to Oracle? Which I say no.
I also say no, because low as the last 2 years, the Sharks are still, the cash king when it comes to the San Jose market, and that's no shot to the San Jose Earthquakes, but they just don't draw as well as the Sharks do. And beyond that, I don't really think for now, yes, and I don't believe people are super into the San Jose Giants. So if the city of San Jose wants to keep the good times rolling, they should do everything in their power to keep the San Jose Sharks at in downtown San Jose.
Yeah, I don't really look at, I'm not local. I don't know the demographics very well, but I don't feel like the Sharks would draw better. Like, I feel like the Sharks, just based on discussions that I've had with people who are down there, like they would probably lose, they'd lose attendance moving to San Francisco.
Yeah, they would, especially because, not a lot of people want to drive to San Francisco.
Right.
In general, because it's a mess trying to get over there no matter which way you go, and it's not as ideal as San Jose, and San Jose is more central. You have people who come down from San Francisco, but you also have people who Gilroy or Sacramento or even in the Central Valley, like San Jose, it's a nice centralized location, and like I said, it's it's the first pro team aside from the Earthquakes in San Jose, and it's it's been very successful. As as much as the attendance the last couple of years wouldn't say that, it, they've been successful. And like Race Fan Rock says, the San Francisco Bulls didn't work out for a reason.
Yeah, but it's the CCHL. Like I
Right. But I mean, it was
and it was
supposed to be
at the Cow Palace, which
right. But the thing is right before that season though, I say they, I don't know who they is, but there was millions of dollars put into retrofitting the Cow Palace to be more modern.
right.
Yeah, and AO brings up the Spiders as well. Yes, this is not the NHL, but even then, I just don't know what the benefit would be.
I don't know either, other than Oracle being a brand new. But again, what would the sightlines be like? Was Oracle built with hockey in mind, or was it built strictly with basketball in mind? Because generally arenas that are built specifically with basketball in mind have crappy sightlines. This is why
Hello, Barkley.
Key Arena. Yes, Barclay Center is another great example of it. This is why the NHL does not want to move a team temporarily into Key Arena. Same reason. Sightlines are garbage. So,
and I don't know top of my head. I really only pretend to be a basketball fan, but a big reason why the Oracle Arena was built, and I know Puck Guy will confirm this too, was because the Warriors were threatening to move to San Jose Arena, and the city of Oakland panicked.
Right.
Money at Oracle.
Oracle's built with concerts and violence in mind. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I don't know why you would leave San Jose though. Like the arena's like, yes, it's one of the older arenas in the league, but it's only because now it seems like you have an arena for 5 years and then you milk taxpayers for a new one. SAP
Right.
Center isn't that old. Like it stands like I've never been in it physically myself, but from everything I've seen on camera of SAP Arena, it looks like it stands up quite well to other arenas in the league.
It does, and for as long as it has been around, yes, it is. Despite only being 25 years old, it is one of the oldest arenas in the league. They really get a lot of miles out of it, and we've seen that over the last 10 years with renovations that have been done. The new jumbotron,
right?
New broadcast areas. Like they really get a lot of miles out of it.
And the other thing too, like the other thing with SAP Center too is if SAP was so terrible, then they probably wouldn't have like the Olympic qualifying there for gymnastics, or like they have some pretty huge events at SAP.
Yeah, exactly. And the SAP Center, it is a huge draw, and I mean, you could argue part of it is because of the cash that comes with the people who are running it.
Sure.
But it's still, it is a huge draw, and Rob says too, Bart coming to San Jose in the next couple of years absolutely helps, because then you give people who live in the San Francisco area another San Jose, but you also open that up to people who live, in the Central Valley, say, Modesto, Stockton, places like that. You open more people up to San Jose.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it's a thing. It's unnecessary for one. Most importantly, it's unnecessary. For two, I think you would drive away your demographic. Like I think you have to be mindful of, like San Jose, like the Sharks are San Jose's team. I think if you move them to one of the other areas, I think that it's going to negatively affect them. And the last thing the Sharks need right now is to negatively affect their attendance.
That and
Warriors games aren't selling out because the Warriors are, because it's such a great arena. They're selling out because the Warriors are bordering on dynasty at this point.
That and something else that has to be considered is a majority of the Sharks corporate sponsors. So there's potential to lose out on that if they did leave San Jose.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I still think this is, I'm just trying to skim through the chat here, saying random words that don't make any sense. Anything else? I feel like we've actually done a half decent show, all things considered.
NHL, the NHL was kind of boring this week.
It really was. I always get nervous about like when we did the show Sunday. I'm like, man, I really hope we don't like kill this trade tonight, and then there's nothing to talk about on Thursday. And man, we killed this.
Oh, and actually, I spoke too soon.
Okay,
Everybody on Twitter now has 280 characters.
that's true. Now I can hashtag.
Yeah, there you go. You can hashtag as many things as you want. Throw in more emojis. You can be like me and find really long, drawn out ways to say I now have 280 characters.
AO was saying boring. Matthew Barzil had 5 assists in one game. Well, that's depressing because he's not wearing teal.
Because everybody, say it with me, class, could have had.
Could have had. Well, I appreciate everyone showing up. Sens Avs. Oh yes, that's true. After the big trade, the Sens and Avs are going to play in Sweden.
Yeah, they're playing 2 games in Sweden.
Isn't it kind of weird that like in the middle of November, like that's going to be a thing? Like I remember like the NHL used to like, you'd play like a couple of your opening games in Europe, and then you'd come back home and try to catch up in games with everyone else. It's weird. Like this November stuff is weird to me.
Yeah, I don't really understand the logic behind it. I don't know what the weather is like in Sweden throughout the year. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe there's some kind of happening that they're trying to capitalize on. But I do know that this. So Avalanche captain Gabriel Landeskog and Senators captain Erik Karlsson are both from Sweden.
That's true.
So if there were 2 teams who were going to do it, it was going to be them.
Does Duchesne make it out of the arena alive?
Well, I don't know how many Avalanche fans are going to be there, but I do know that when he does make his return to Pepsi Center next year, I fully expect him to get torn apart by those fans.
I believe it too. I just because like some of the comments after like where like Eric Johnson came out and said, oh, now everyone's happy to be here, and Gabriel Landeskog kind of said the same thing. So I'm kind of curious to see how that I kind of want to see that play out. Like I kind of want to see if they run them a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that kind of make him miss out on maybe he made the wrong choice.
Now they play 2 games, right? So it'll probably be like the one where their home colors one game and the other team.
Yeah,
it's like a home and home.
Yeah,
except not at home.
It's a neutral site game with a home team.
There you go. Laurel misses Drew. We all miss Drew. One day we'll find Drew. We'll kidnap him. I'll have Hockey Jerk pull up beside him, hit him with a metal object over the head, stuff him in his trunk, and we'll make him do a podcast.
We'll summon him.
We'll summon him. We'll find him to the ground.
Who was it? Sleepy Mofo says Tim Burke says Barzell's too exciting. We don't need that many assists in one game, which that makes me laugh. That's definitely tweet worthy because I could totally see that be a thing.
Right.
He's not physical enough.
The NHL rules 2 dice to determine outdoor games. Actually, that's true, but 1 die actually only has the Blackhawks on it.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, we'll try and kidnap Drew or something. We've got a couple other things that we've been that I've been working on. A couple familiar faces might come on the show too, so stay tuned for that. I don't know if I don't know if we're gonna do a show this weekend. Maybe you might after the Barracuda game. I'm not sure. Don't hold your breath, but if we do it, stay tuned. But I think that we are probably going to back away from trying to do 2 shows a week at this point. It was kind of like, it was a cool thing. And I feel like if we do it after a Barracuda game, that's different. But I just feel like it's been more difficult than I expected it to be, trying to fill content for 2 entire shows. And with the Barracuda, it's great when the Barracuda are in San Jose because then all of us are watching. But if the Barracuda are on the road, then it just kind of leaves me watching. So that's not exactly a recipe for success. But obviously, we're going to cover the Barracuda. I always put aside a block of every show for the Barracuda when there's something to talk about. So I'm not saying like there will never be another weekend show. Potential is always there. I just think it's going to be less of a planned thing and a more of a, hey, this is what we're going to do because we feel like it.
Speaking of the
Going forward.
Barracuda,
Go ahead.
Speaking of the Barracuda, something else I did think of. The Sharks took Rourke Chartier off of season opening injured reserve yesterday.
They did, which is a good sign. Means
it's a good sign, but it's also very curious because it's not that long ago that he was wearing sunglasses indoors.
Well, I mean, he's just really cool or really douchey.
Was he? The real question is, was he wearing a leather jacket?
That's right. That's what I need to know, and then I'll tell you exactly what's going on. I think that I think with Chartier it's good because with him being able to move to the Barracuda, which means that obviously he's in, he might be off the LTIR and just onto the IR now. So maybe he's closer to getting back than people think. But I mean, I haven't heard anything about Rourke Chartier skating even at this point. So I don't want to get too excited.
He started skating a couple weeks ago, but he was skating in like the no contact sweater.
So we'll have to keep an eye if he's skating with a contact sweater soon.
That, and Vince G also says the Barracuda sent Colby McCauley to Allen, which, yes, they did. I could be totally wrong about this, but I feel like Manny Wiederer was injured, and now I think he may be ready to go, and that's why McCauley was sent to Allen. Or maybe McCauley is just bad.
Also, with Kevin LeBanc being down there.
That too, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It doesn't seem like with Kevin LeBanc, I don't know. I don't expect to see him. I don't think there's any call-ups coming. Like, I really don't think. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, if this and this happens, is O'Regan finally get a chance? Probably not. I don't think anyone's coming up because they're already carrying more forwards than they need.
Not till February.
Right. Yeah, and then you'll start seeing all the call-ups. So we'll see what happens going forward. We'll see if Manny Weirder gets back in the lineup. We'll see if Rourke Chartier gets going. Hopefully, I mean, I'd love to see Chartier back on the ice. I think the Barracuda team will look a lot better with Chartier. It'll have to give them a lot more options. And look at their goaltending's been great. Another thing we forgot to go over, actually, and we can do it quickly, is the situation with Parker Gahagen. For those that don't know, Parker Gahagen is a goaltender that has been in Sharks camp. He's been around the Sharks a lot. He played for Army, for the Army team, and now obviously playing for the Army team at West Point, I would assume. The issue there obviously is you're in the Army, you have to do service. Now, previously, some athletes have been able to get out of actual active duty and do other things like recruitment drives and stuff like that in order to fulfill their service. It really depends on basically who's in charge of the military at this point. So basically what Elliot Friedman says, and I know Zach is not really, Zach's still kind of iffy on the whole topic, but I do respect the hell out of Elliot Friedman. So I think Zach's right to be still cautious, but I feel like Friedman's a good enough voice that it's worth discussing at least. And so basically they set him up so that he could basically there's a thing that they can do for Olympic athletes where they will allow an exemption and let them do this other stuff because obviously Americans like gold medals. So basically Team USA put him on a list of goalies that could potentially be brought into camp, and he did it. Now, I don't know if that means he's only going to sign an AHL contract this year in order to be eligible for the Olympics or what the deal is, but apparently he's with the team. That's going to make things super interesting. Obviously, I know Troy Grosnick just had a child, but Grosnick and Bibo have actually been really good. So it's going to be interesting to see how Gahagen is going to fit into that mold if he does actually get on the ice.
Yeah, it is going to be very curious because I know towards the end of the year last year, I know the Barracuda were carrying him, Grosnick, and Armalis for a while, in addition to Clark Saunders. And
right.
It definitely made practices very interesting. So insurance thing, maybe like you said, they get him to an AHL only contract and then maybe they loan him out somewhere else. There's definitely a lot of options for him. And then kind of transitioning back to something we talked to before, the Lightning and the LA Kings are playing right now, and Nikita Kucherov scored again.
What a jerk. Yeah,
So now he's got 16 and 17.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the Sharks obviously are really, really high on this guy. So I mean, if they can get it to work out where he can, where Parker Gahagen can play some games and, and obviously manage to fulfill his service obligations, which obviously is his first priority. And he's even said as much, like, obviously he knows that taxpayers basically paid for him to go to school and he wants them to continue to, he wants to obviously pay that back. But so, I mean, hopefully he's able to do both in a way that satisfies everyone.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, there's been a lot of good things said about him. So I would like to see him, more than just the prospect scrimmage that was in July. I'd like to see him in a practice or even in, at least close to a game. Obviously, a lot of moving pieces to it, but I think it would be exciting. And I know Vince G would be pumped about that as well, because Vince G's probably done as much research as anybody has on Gahagen.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that. Aside from that, though, I think now we covered everything. I don't even want to have notes. I just forget stuff that's on them. All right, final thoughts, Mr. Hockey Jerk?
Final thoughts. Vadim Shipachev is good, and he should feel good. I hope he goes back to the KHL. Well, he's going to the KHL. I've read rumors that he might sign with Magnitogorsk, which I say fingers crossed, because we sure as hell need the help. You can follow me on Twitter at hockey_jerk. 280 characters, you guys. Double the rambling, double the idiocy, double the craziness, double the hot takes, double the everything. It's going to be a good time. Vince G says Magnitka jerk. Yep, absolutely. Just wait till March. Just wait till March when the playoffs roll around. I'm going to get all ducked out in my navy and orange.
Right? I didn't even know the word up today. I'm the worst. This is the worst ever. I forgot to put my poppy on. Like,
oh, you have a poppy?
Of course I have a poppy. I have one on my jacket. I have one that I've been like meaning to wear on air, and I just haven't. But it's here. I have a poppy, kids. See, good, Ian.
All I have is a digital one on my avatar.
All right, man. Well, the Lightning are no joke. I told you they're no joke at the start of the show. I'm done. I'm angry. We didn't talk about the Jets or Pens this show. We will. You know what? I'm gonna make extra room for Jets and Pens talk next show. Look at guys. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? Yeah, you know what? I send out a tweet at like every day that we're gonna do a show, and I'm like, hey, what do you want us to talk about? Today I got mostly crickets. This is on you guys. And with that, when the Sharks do good, it's good, and when everyone does bad, it's bad. Other than that, you can follow me on Twitter at Ian Blogs Hockey. I actually plan to do some writing at some point. I really need to get back on the horse for that. But other than that, I'm gonna try and be more active on Twitter again, because I know I've been kind of quiet lately. But I'll try and be more social again. Aside from that, if we don't do a show this weekend after the Barracuda game, we will see you next week, I guess. Let me look at the schedule before I make any plans. What's the date today?
The 9th.
The 9th. What? Okay. Do they play on the 16th?
They do.
Oh man. Okay. So, well,
perhaps we could bring back the Friday night party show.
We could. That's you know what, that might be doable. We will get back to you on when we are going to go to when we are going to do the next show, just because of the game. Obviously, we're not going to go on during a game.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Aside from that, guys, this was always fun as always. Have a good night. Take care. Tell 2 friends. Let them tell 2 friends. Let them tell 2 friends, and so on and so on and so on. Subscribe, follow, all the usual stuff. You know where we are. tealtintedglasses.com. Teal Tinted Glasses on iTunes. Teal Tinted Glasses on SoundCloud. Teal Tinted Glasses on Google Play. TuneIn, Stitcher, all that fun stuff. Thanks, guys. Ciao.